This conference will now be recorded.
This is a new platform for GoToMeeting, which is now known as GoTo. So some folks have had difficulties connecting and getting their video up, and we understand that. My understanding from talking to folks this morning is that in the future you may want to go online and reinstall GoToMeeting on some Microsoft computers because it's a requirement. But again, thank everybody for joining us here today as well. Um, I'm pleased to introduce a past chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. He owns State Farm Insurance on North Street. He's had an extraordinarily successful career in many endeavors here in Nacogdoches, not the least of which was a tenure or a period with SFA in the development department, and represented that institution very, very well. Um, in his capacity as past chairman of the board, he's been very interested in the issue of infrastructure investment here in Nacogdoches. Many of you folks know that the infrastructure proposal that was being considered by the Nacogdoches City Council was suspended due to a petition presented requiring a new process in terms of approval. I've had in recent days the opportunity to spend some time with Ted Smith. Ted has volunteered to kind of give us a snapshot on the necessities of infrastructure investment and at the same time encourage all of us to engage in this next phase or process in order to ensure that Nacogdoches has the capacity to support expansion of existing businesses and new development for both residential and businesses here in Nacogdoches. And with that in mind, good morning, good afternoon, Ted Smith.
Good afternoon, Wayne. Thank you for having me. When Wayne asked me to speak today, I think it was due to the prequel of a board meeting we had a few months ago, and then again last month, where we as a chamber got together and decided how are we going to help the city, or decide first if we were going to help the city pass their initiatives for infrastructure, and unanimously we decided yes, we wanted to be a part of that. And I think it's crucial. I think it's something. It's not should we do it. It's okay. How far should we jump in? And just to predate that, like Wayne said, the CEO got denied, and they have to pursue now some other avenues. But infrastructure basically, by definition, is the building blocks of a town or a community. It's all your underground sewer, your underground wire, your utilities. But it also includes your first responders. It includes emergency safety, and it includes security from your police department. And I feel like Nacogdoches has done a fantastic job getting our police departments up to code, getting our staffing up to code, and relatively low crime rate. So thankfully, we don't have a big problem with that. But I won't go too far into detail, but everybody knows kind of where we are with the fire stations being 70 plus years old and needing more than just maintenance or renovation. But the city was proactive enough to have a consultant come in, give logistics on when and where these locations should be. And that just simply tells you, hey, our fire stations are not where they need to be. They need to be in other locations so that they can better serve you. I 100% agree with that. I think they said Fire Station 1 was a dirt road there on North Street when they put it in, and they actually had to pave to the front to get it to the driveway. So I did my due diligence. I'm not just going to sit here and talk about it. I put my money where my mouth is, and I took a day off, and I rode around with Keith Kiplinger, and I viewed every fire station. I asked the questions. Unfortunately, they did make me take a ride up in the ladder truck about 103 feet above the fire station. I wasn't real thrilled to do that, but I did it. I did have a little fear factor going on in me, but it's done. And I got to say that ladder truck was phenomenal. But if you really want to look back, look at the way our town has grown. We've grown and grown, and then we just kind of stopped growing. And the latest census in 2020, and I granted some of those numbers are skewed by COVID, but we only grew by about 150 people in 10 years. And to me, that's just not acceptable. To me as a business owner, that is. You know, I love the tradition of this town. I love the size of this town. I come from Houston, and I'll never move back. You know, I fell in love with Nacogdoches when I moved here in '97, and then I fell in love with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl from East Texas in '03, and we got married and stayed here. But our town has stopped growing. And as business owners, which all the members of the chamber are, we need growth. And somebody told me, and I'm sorry if I forgot who it was, but it was someone that knew a lot about the situation. And they suggested that a town our size geographically could sustain a population of 50,000, and it would be a sweet spot for Nacogdoches. It would bring in the revenue we need. It would not be so big that we would be too congested. Now, a lot of people would disagree during the semester at 12 o'clock on North Street, but hey, I'm telling you, I grew up in Houston. Traffic's a lot worse in Houston and Dallas than it is on North Street at noon. I'll take that all day long. But we've just kind of stopped growing, and we need to figure out how are we going to grow again. Well, everybody knows you don't put the cart before the horse. And in this case, the horse is the infrastructure. We've got to have fundamental basics of sewage, of water supply, of broadband, which is something else I'll touch in a minute, but that's expanding, and there's literally trillions of dollars available for broadband expansion. But emergency services, first responders, that to me is part of infrastructure and needs to be addressed. It needs to be updated. And the officials that we have in place with Mario Canizares as our new city manager, we got Jimmy Mize as mayor, and the 4 council people, they were elected to do this job. And we need to get out of the way and let them do the job. You know, that's the first thing they teach you when you become a business owner. Hire good people, then get out of the way and let them do their job. So as a city, we need to do that. We need to let these people do their job as they see fit. And then if there's a problem, don't reelect them. You know, then it's time to find some new leadership. I don't think we're at that point. So back to growing. If you're not growing, you're dying, basically. You know, you look at your body, look at how you grow as a human being. You grow, and sometime when you hit in your mid-20s, you kind of quit growing up anymore. And then you're basically, your body's starting to deteriorate. You're starting to die. A town is no different. It grows. It hits a point, and we're at that plateau where we're not growing anymore. So the only thing else to do is to die. And I don't want this town to die. I want to see this town continue to grow. I want to see it expand. I want to hit that sweet spot of about 50,000 people. Yes, I have some motives to that because I am a business owner. I own 2 businesses in town. Those would benefit my business. As a member of the chamber, I think all members of the chamber would benefit from a growth of population. Not looking for 100,000 people, not for saying we need to get to the size of Tyler, but 50,000 is what the research has shown is that sweet spot. And in order to do that, we've got to do infrastructure. We've got to get some more housing. Housing is another crucial part because if you attract people, you attract businesses, where are they going to live? They don't have a place to live. They're going to have to build a house, buy land, do whatever it takes, and that may deter them from coming here and go somewhere else. You know, I'll give Dr. Patillo and the SFA Regents all the credit in the world for the past probably decade and a half, close to 2 decades. They saw the need for infrastructure at SFA. They started building new buildings. They started expanding buildings. They started getting hiring and more staff. And from what I was told, SFA grew its infrastructure all the way up until about 2019 to sustain 15,000 students without adding another brick and mortar, without hiring another person. Unfortunately, we COVID hit and that growth stopped. We were at about 13,000 students then. We've kind of hit a hiccup. I think Dr. Westbrook now and the Regents are doing a great job trying to find a way to move forward. SFA still has that infrastructure to withstand 15,000 students. And I can't wait to see it get to 15,000 because look what that would do to our community. I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars of revenue being pumped into our town just from those extra 2,000 students on campus. And then you got to hire professors eventually. Then you got to hire other service workers, oil change. I mean, you name it. It's endless. It's a trickle down effect. But it's got to start somewhere, and it's got to start with infrastructure. And I believe the citizens of this town need to get behind the city. They need to get behind Mario and Jimmy, and they need to support them. When you see them in the public, you need to tell them, hey, you're doing a good job, because I'm going to tell you, and everybody knows this, there's a small group, and it's a well-organized group. I'll give them credit for that, but there's a small, well-organized group that is not giving them any credit, that is not giving them the support they need. They want to point out the problems, but they don't want to point out the solutions. You know, my dad always told me, if you're going to come to me with a problem, you better have the solution to fix it too, or I don't want to hear it, because then you're just complaining. We've got to quit complaining. We've got to point out the problems, but we got to all come together for solutions. Infrastructure is something that I'm personally tackling. I've already partnered up with a lobbyist group as well as a right-of-way company, and we're exploring some of this broadband. You know, there's, like I said earlier, there's trillions of dollars from federal and state that are trying to expand broadband in the rural areas. We've heard this before at Eggs and Issues. You've seen it on the news. That money's there. I spoke to a lobbyist just Saturday at the football game. She said there's no other time in history where we've had this kind of money and resources to expand an infrastructure utility like broadband. And it's not going to last forever. It's going to run out. And if we don't get a hold of it, we're going to miss the boat. And if you want to go a step further than that, let's go pre-COVID. I-69. I-69 was one of the things we all talked about. It was the buzz around town. COVID happened. We forgot about I-69. But guess what? I-69 did not stop building. They're still building it. Wayne and I have had a couple of meetings with some of the leaders in town. Wayne is extremely knowledgeable about how to work the dealings of an interstate coming through your town. When he was in Augusta, Maine, they had an interstate come through town, and they created a land bank, which got out there ahead of this, purchased land, and then now they developed these huge industrial parks and businesses, and they got to do it. It wasn't somebody from out of town coming in deciding, well, here, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put that there. They did it internally, and it was hugely successful, wildly successful. And that's another thing. Interstate is infrastructure. Once we get the interstate in, now people can come back and forth from Houston a lot easier than hitting all those lights in Diboll, Oregon. I mean, you know where I'm talking about. Love those little towns, but, man, don't slow me down when I'm trying to get to Nacogdoches. Let us go. So that kind of wraps it up, Wayne. That's about all I really had to say, unless you have any questions or anybody else does. But I just really feel like if we want our town to grow and not die, we've got to get behind this infrastructure. We got to support our leaders, and we've got to do it now. We can't wait and do it later. Putting it off, unfortunately, it's going to be a bond in 2 years. That's fine. You want to see what the city's going to vote on it, okay? But all that does is delay our growth by 2 more years. That's all it really proceeded, and it provides a roadblock to get it passed. I would love to sit down and talk to the other side. I know a few of them over there, and I've already reached out to them, and I'd love to just hear their thoughts on why. Why do they think we don't need to do this? Why do you think the businesses of Nacogdoches, the 700 plus businesses that are members of this chamber, why would they not want growth in this city? Why would they not want emergency response services that are 45 seconds quicker to get to you than they are currently? I mean, imagine if you're at the intersection of Walmart there, and you're in a crash and your car's on fire. I'm gonna tell you what, I want that 45 seconds if someone's a little bit quicker to get to me, because it could mean life or death to any one of us, or to any of our citizens. So if a report that was logistically proven to show that these locations are terrible, let's do that. Let's follow their advice. I mean, they did their due diligence. So, Wayne, did I ramble enough?
You did wonderfully, Ted, and thank you for your advocacy for this city. It's that type of passion that I've often characterized Ted as my coach in this town. He motivates folks, and we realize it's outside of your core business responsibilities, but it's critically important that people step forward and share their message. And it's I really appreciate it. Anybody have questions or comments? You're certainly
Wayne,
welcome.
Wayne, this is Scott. I would like to thank Ted for that. And I would say that I agree 100%, Ted. And I would just add one more comment, and that would be, even if somebody doesn't want to see Nacogdoches grow to 50,000, infrastructure has to be replaced. Infrastructure,
Amen.
deteriorates over time. And even if you don't want to grow, you still have to replace and improve your infrastructure for the size of city that you currently have. So, I think the city has kind of gotten behind the 8 ball on some items, and there are some absolutely critical needs, and we've got to get behind them and get this approved. So I just wanted to echo that. I agree with you, Ted, and even for the people that aren't that pro-growth, we need them on board too.
Well, thank
Amen,
you.
Scott. I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is something. Ironically, we are going to have Steve Bartlett speak at Rotary tomorrow. I'm the presenter for October, so he's my guest speaker, and that's one of the things he's going to talk about are the 100-year-old clay pipes we have running down Main Street. It's not a matter of if, but when they fail. And right now they break and they patch it. They break and they patch it. Well, it's only going to break a few more times before sewage starts backing up into everybody's business. And if we get ahead of this thing and be proactive instead of reactive, we can replace these clay pipes with some better materials that'll last another 150 years. So you're spot on, Scott. We've definitely got to do a better job maintaining what we already have or repairing it. Thank you.
And I joined Ted and the chief and others on that mini tour of the station on North Street, and I left with the impression that those men and women that we are eager to have protect our homes and our community are living in some pretty dismal conditions over there. The sleeping quarters there are, in my opinion, less than acceptable. And my understanding that facility, which is one of the newer ones, was built in 1951. I want my firefighters to be in a safe and secure environment themselves, based on the job they're doing. So that tour was eye-opening to me personally. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Wayne, one thing is I'd encourage leadership of the chamber, but I'm just kidding. But I think that this is not the place to talk about action steps, but I really think that the chamber needs to take a lead in some way to begin to get this message out, just like you're doing in this call right here. This is the time to do this and win on this thing. It's a win. We got to win against the what I call boo birds. And bless their hearts, there's some friends of mine that signed that petition, and hell, they didn't know what they were signing. They just did it because I think they were strong-armed by a friend or whatever. We got to get to those folks and convince them that we've got to do this. That petition put us back, and we've got to roll it forward as fast as we can. Ted, great remarks by you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Gary. It sounds like you just volunteered to chair a committee.
Oh, absolutely. I'm retired.
Charlotte, can he chair another committee?
All the time in the world.
Any other questions or comments for Ted? But Ted, I want to thank you again for your advocacy and your willingness today to join us on this presentation, and obviously stick with us. There's nobody prepared to talk about infrastructure in Nacogdoches, Texas, than our city manager, the Honorable Mario Canizares. Good afternoon, Mario.
Hey, Wayne. Good afternoon. Thank you, Ted, for your remarks. I'm not that honorable, Wayne, so but thank you anyway. Thanks for the title. Just keep in mind, folks, that when you speak to city staff, especially in our official capacity, we're always going to provide the facts. We're not here to advocate. We're just here to provide the facts as they're presented to the city council and certainly to our community. But But I do appreciate Ted's comments, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. Kind of on the heels of what was said, because the petition did come to fruition, and it basically stopped that CO package from going forward. We are needing to have some discussions with City Council. We'll be having those here in the coming weeks. One is on October the 27th, and that is to discuss what we do with stations 2 and 5. Those are the 2 stations that were up for consideration for this process. The intent was to merge those 2 stations into a new central fire station. Those 2 stations were built in the 1950s. One on the hill there at MLK and Main Street is it has 1 toilet for it accommodates 2 people living there. And then our downtown station was small, and so again, these are both 70-year-old facilities. So the intent was to build a new central fire station that had basically 4 bays or 4 doors that basically front to back that allow us to house up to 8 pieces of apparatus. So well, anyway, so since that process isn't going forward, we do need to look at what we do, at least bare minimum, make some level of investment to both those older facilities, some health life safety type investment. So we'll be, Chief Kiplinger will be presenting an item on the 27th. It's a special workshop to discuss nothing but infrastructure on what he would recommend that we at least invest into those older facilities, knowing that if something were to come to fruition down into the future, that those investments would be stranded costs. We also have no monies for drainage improvements, which was again $5 million as part of the CO issuance. So we need to get with City Council to find out, because we have some projects that were basically shovel ready, and we've got some imminent needs right now, and so we need to look at what kind of monies we can set aside for drainage improvements if we do have some kind of a failure. We also have some parks facilities that are outdated and deemed unsafe, and so we were looking at doing those replacements in our park system, but since we're not able to do those, then we may need to just remove those structures because it's a safety issue. So again, we just need to come up with some interim solutions to the issues at hand, and so we're presenting that to council on 27th. And then on November 10th, we need to visit with council on what the future looks like. So if we are going to do a bond program, again, state law allows cities to only have elections in May or November. And so if we're going to have an election in May of next year, which is possible, but it would have to be fairly accelerated effort, we would have to have whatever projects they want to put on the table solidified, vetted. I would assume they would want to form a committee, have all that vetted, certainly no later than early to mid-February, because you've got to call the election about around mid-March. And if we do this in November, then we would have to have those projects completed or at least vetted, certainly no later than mid-July, because you start losing people for vacations, and then they would call the election in mid-August. So we've got a lot of heavy lifting to do and a lot of moving parts to this. So we just have further conversations with City Council on that. Now, on the more current horizon, we do have a City Council meeting tonight. One of those items that we have is a zoning case to look at potentially going from agricultural zoning designation to R4, which is multifamily. So we do have an outside investor from the Dallas area that's looking at building up to, believe, 65 to 80 new apartment units. My understanding is about a $10 to $12 million investment there at the corner of Austin and Pearl Street, where there's some vacant land. And so they've gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission last Monday. It was approved 5-0 to go forward. And so it's being heard tonight at City Council. So those are one of the things, some new development. And again, you know, just like what said earlier, this is about growing our city. And so this is an opportunity where this potential zoning case could help add some tax value to our city, which we desperately need. And so based on what we can tell, it seems like it was some good projects, or a good project that's coming to fruition. And so we're asking for council to consider that zoning change. Otherwise, Wayne, that's really all I have. Like I said, we've got some critical meetings coming up with City Council in regards to infrastructure and things that are said about the need of better roadways, better water and sewer, certainly drainage, certain facilities that serve the public's interest, especially from public safety, and then our quality of life facilities. They're important. They're important in any community, whether you're growing or not growing. You got to have reliable infrastructure. And so, again, that may be more of an opinion than fact, but I think it's really a little bit of both, quite honestly. So, with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you or others on the call may have.
Any questions for City Manager Mario? Mario, how doable is accelerating that issue so that it can be on the ballot in May?
Well, I mean, it's doable, Wayne. I think part of the issues that I've brought up before is we also have a council election in May. We've got a mayor and 2 council members up for reelection or up for consideration in May of 23. And so, again, my concern is it can be somewhat of a crowded agenda when it comes to having a bond election and a city council election. It's doable, but as I mentioned earlier, if the intent is to have a committee to look at projects, the question I have for council is, are we just looking at the projects that were slated for the CO process, or are we looking at doing more? With the CO package, plus what we have funded in cash from the city, we were looking at tackling about $43 million worth of infrastructure improvements over the next 24 to 36 months. Well, that CO process is no longer available to us, so we basically cut our capacity in half, or abilities in half. And so my question to council is, are we just doing 21 more with the bond, or are we doing more? Because we identified about 170 to 175 million worth of infrastructure needs. And the intent of the CO was we had debt being expiring. And so we were taking on new debt, which basically just extended that credit line per se. And we were able to, because of our values in the community, we were able to do, again, $21 million worth of projects. And so the need is greater than 21 million. So my question to council is, are we just sticking to the original package, or do you want to do more? And really it's up to them. And so if we want to do more, or if we want to stick with the same package and they want to have a committee, those take time, and we're about to launch into the holidays within just a few weeks. And so we really wouldn't begin, I don't think, in earnest until the 1st of January. And that's a real quick turnaround to do something in May. Because we should have started that bond process earlier this summer or late the spring of this year.
Thank you, Mario. I can say this, based on a recent vote of the board of directors, I think you can count on the engagement of the chamber in assisting you through the process. And having said that, we're going to need to identify an appropriate role for us to play. But I think my board is inclined to be very supportive of this initiative.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Any other questions of the city manager? Well, I'm pleased now I do not see a representative from Stephen F. Austin State University. I realize they had several meetings conflicts this afternoon, so I'm pleased to welcome the president and CEO of the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation, Larissa Philpott Brown.
Hi, Wayne. Thank you. Yes, I am in my car. I'm left one meeting and on my way to another. I'm not driving though. I briefly just wanted to reiterate kind of what everybody has said, and really touch on the economic development side of it. I receive, through our contacts with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, along with all of the other EDCs in the state, we receive site selector prospects, probably 2 or 3 a week. And what those prospects are looking for is available workforce and sites that are served with utilities, infrastructure as far as utilities, transportation, rail lines, things like that. If we don't have the utility infrastructure, we don't have the rail line, we don't have the road, we don't have the water or the sewer, we're immediately off the table. The next thing they're going to look at is workforce. Do we have people here that are skilled and ready to work And do we have just enough bodies in the county to do the job? And so you say, well, Larissa, how do we reach that point? Let's say we've got all of our infrastructure in place, but how does this all tie in together? Well, part of getting more of those bodies here to work is quality of life, and making sure that we have a really high quality of life so that we attract people who want to live in East Texas and want to work these jobs. And so keep that in mind as we're moving forward talking about infrastructure. It's not just utilities, it's parks, it's schools, it's making sure that we have great public safety. And so it's all one big giant package. We are working on a prospect right now that will have a very high infrastructure cost, but in the end, it will provide many jobs, and really will be a big economic investment and an economic benefit to our community. The other thing, I'm trying to think, I had one more issue to talk about. One more thing. It was mentioned about the zoning change tonight for the apartment complex. This is something I've talked with our local realtors and our local multifamily property owners for years, is we don't have a lot of new multifamily properties. If we have a new doctor that moves to town, or a new banker, or a new family, they can't move into a home of their own yet, and we all know that the housing market is super tight, we don't have a place to put them. And so it all ties together. It makes it really hard to recruit people to come live in our community if we literally don't have a place for them to live. So just keep that in mind, that this is all interconnected. The investment does turn around and have a return on that investment, but we've got to make sure that we fill in all of those pieces of the pie together. And that's all I have today, Wayne.
Well, Larissa, it all boils down both in terms of labor and in terms of sites. It's all and infrastructure. It's a capacity
Yeah.
challenge, and we have got to address it. I couldn't agree with you more on your points to make. You got an annual meeting coming up, huh?
I do. Our annual luncheon is on Thursday, and actually Thursday of next week. Sorry, double check my calendar. Yep, it's Thursday of next week. Sorry. And we are excited that we have Dr. Tim Bisping is going to talk about the Greg Arnold Business Center at SFA. We're really excited to see SFA really building in that entrepreneurial and small business space to help out our local entrepreneurs. And then also Jerry Kinney from the TLL Temple Foundation is going to talk about all of the investments that the Temple Foundation is making in our local economy here in Nacogdoches. I think it's a lot more than anybody really realizes, and we want to give them the opportunity to showcase that and showcase that big investment for us.
That's great. Well, I know it'll be a great meeting. Any questions, Larissa? Comments? Larissa, drive safely, please.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm pleased to welcome the President and CEO of the Texas Forest Country Partnership, Nancy Wyndham. And I'm going to respectfully ask Cassandra Stokes if she wanted to add anything after Nancy's comments. Nancy, good afternoon. Did I lose Nancy? Cassandra, are you there by chance? I wonder what happened.
Hey there, I'm here.
Hi there, how are you? Anything to
I'm doing
report?
well. I'm not prepared to give a good report today, but I did really enjoy going out to the ribbon cutting for Communities Unlimited. It was a great turnout and great weather, and it's going to be a great partnership for Nacogdoches and the surrounding counties. And so I really look forward to working with Christopher Moore and all the other people with them. As far as my territory goes, the Small Business Development Center has assigned me to the Nacogdoches County area, and I currently have 46 clients. 10 of those are pretty active, and for me, that's keeping me super busy. And so we've added another business advisor. His name is Lee Harris, and he attended the function today with me. And so he's going to be helping out as well. As most of you guys know, my background is in business, and my specialty is restaurants. But I have clients of all type and backgrounds, and his is finance. So it'll be a great partnership. I also want to thank Larissa, and her staff, Mary Frances and Casey. I use their conference room all the time, and so they see a lot of clients of mine come through the doors, and that's just been extremely helpful. She's doesn't know this, but her office has actually helped me with 3 business starts in the last 4 months. So got a lot more coming down the pike, and I'll be more prepared to give something on future calls. But thank you for asking.
You're welcome, Cassandra. Any questions or comments, Cassandra?
I'll just make a quick comment. I hope you guys all realize how incredibly lucky we are to have Cassandra. We kind of had a dry spell for a while. SBDC was kind of understaffed, and they really kind of pulled back to Lufkin more than we wished. And so it's been a game changer over the last several months with Cassandra there. We are in such great hands with Cassandra. So we're so thankful that A, we were able to keep you in the community, Cassandra, but B, that you're there to help our small businesses. So thank you.
Thank you, Larissa. And thank you, Cassandra, for that report. And that's going to work out. Well, Nancy, you're back with us. We're anxious to hear what's going on.
Sorry, I saw the red. I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. No, actually, I was just setting Cassandra up to see how she would do on the fly. Sorry about that. I won't take very much of your time, but I do want to say, from not only just a regional economic development in Larissa and Mario, Ted, everybody on this call are all love Nacogdoches, love our region, love our state, and do everything we can to make life better for everybody else. With that said, unfortunately, there are site locators, and Larissa alluded to this earlier. There's not only site locators. Right now, we're finding out there's a lot of companies that are leading that charge, and they have internal staff. Sometimes I hear from them, sometimes I don't, that have already done their work about looking into Nacogdoches County and our region. They won't even give us an opportunity to take a look at them if they find negativity. They check how many times that you bring bonds up for approval that are declined and the reason why. They dig deep sometimes to find out what a community is like, because if they're looking to invest in an area or a place, they don't want to come in and invest in a place that is not all on the same page, that is not doing everything they can to bring positive, forward-thinking, just like taking care of our infrastructure for the oldest town in Texas. I understand you can do so much, but we need to do a better job. There are businesses in Nacogdoches through the chamber, their voice is heard, but I hate the fact that I hear about companies looking and they've already done their work and not even give Larissa, give the city or the county an opportunity to tell their own story. They're done. So when they come here and have an opportunity to get to know you is to love you, I'd say, and a lot of people live here because they love Nacogdoches. Or for those people that don't even get a chance to know us and look at those figures, it is critical that we are all saying, you know, we have a plan. We may not have the best infrastructure right this minute, but we have a plan to fix that. So I just have to say that you've heard it before, but it's getting even harder because your competition is getting even fiercer. And I think Larissa will echo that too, because she sees it every day and does a great job promoting your area. So I just had to say that. But because if we're not living it and we're not talking it, and if we're not supporting it, you're going to miss out on opportunities that you never even knew you had. So there. I will be more than happy, Larissa, to visit with you. Yesterday, I think Cassandra was there, Wayne was there. We were in a meeting, and there was a gentleman from out of town that was talking about a project that did not come because the workforce wasn't there. They went someplace else. So it's all those trigger factors that we need to stay on top of. And if they're not what you want them to be, make sure you have a plan moving forward to get them fixed. So that's another soapbox. But anyway, I'd like to just for a few minutes promote our Economic Development Summit. That is Monday, October the 17th. It is at Stephen F. Austin University. It's from 8:30 to 3. The Chamber has so graciously helped us promote that. There is a link where you can go register, or you can give me a call if you'd like to sponsor. But it is about one region, one vision, better together, but it's business, education, and workforce. And it's putting all of those three together and focusing on that. On the education part, we'll begin with education. Mary Jane Rojas, that heads up our Carey Center at Stephen F. Austin, along with Tyann Dietz and a lady from Raise Your Hand, Texas. They're going to capsulize an all-day meeting notes and recap from yesterday into 15 minutes. And then we're going to end with a group from the Panhandle called Collegiate Edunation. There'll be a video, and it's showing what they have done in their rural region about education. And then we're going to have, of course, we have our legislative panel that will close it out. But for our noon keynote is Adriana Cruz, Robert Allen, and Commissioner Demerson, a conversation with them. You don't want to miss the presentation of the Silver Bucket. And then we're bringing back Rich Frechelle with TSTC. He's going to give an update. He is our economist. Everyone last year enjoyed him, and he's coming back this year, and he's going to talk about the recession. He's going to talk about things that we probably don't want to hear, but he's going to present some things to help us moving forward. So I would encourage you to come support our region. We've probably seen the biggest amount of project activity and interest in our region than we have seen as long as I have been back since 2014. So look forward to seeing everybody there. And if you have any questions, please give me a call. Appreciate everybody's support. Kelly, thank you for being on our board, and we look forward to seeing you there. And I see Karen Stubblefield, one of our other regional partners that are on. They may have something new that she would say, Wayne, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Karen?
Thanks for that, Nancy. This is Karen Stubblefield with Workforce Solutions, Deep East Texas. I'll be happy to mention a few things. Unemployment in Nacogdoches County is pretty low, 4.4% in August. It's lower than the 12-county region at 5.3%. So that's a positive thing, but it also does mean it's harder for employers to find workers ready to go to work. And a couple of ideas or opportunities that are available there. We are hosting the statewide Hiring Red, White, and U event November 3rd. It's happening in Nacogdoches this year. And we're very pleased to have a partnership with the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation helping us with that event. The location is the C.L. Simon Recreation Center. So if there's any employers on board that are looking for people, we encourage you to sign up for a booth. And if you know of anyone looking for work, it would be a great time to meet some quality employers, many of whom will be from the Nacogdoches area, but some of whom are coming from other areas of our Deep East Texas region. Some other ways to get involved and grow our local workforce. We are encouraging employers to host internships. Internships can be available for high school students or college students, and there's some outlets where you can post those openings. We're really important today, that students get a feel for what that real work life is and they can prepare themselves better. So we encourage you to do that. And I lost my other recommendation, so thank you. But if I think of it, I'll put it in the chat.
That's great, Karen. And first of all, I want to commend you and Mark and the staff for that outstanding conference yesterday. It was very informative and eye-opening in a number of different ways. So well done. I hope you folks were as pleased as well.
Yeah, it was really great to have that level of brain power all in one room talking about how to better organize our schools so that they can deliver a quality workforce for our industry. So hopefully we can continue that conversation and be making a difference.
Well, it was well done. I was real impressed. So I see we have Ashley Morgan from Visit Nacogdoches with us. Ashley, anything going on over there?
You put me on the spot. I didn't know I was going to give a report. Yes, we do have things going on. We always do in Nacogdoches. We do have our full moon concerts coming up, not this coming weekend, but next weekend. It's a 90s grunge weekend. So on Friday night, the 21st, we're going to have local band Huffy and the Paintfish open for Basket Case, which is a Green Day cover band. And then Saturday, we're going to have Foozer, which is a Foo Fighters and Weezer combination tribute band. Sorry, that's a mouthful. And then following them will be the Three Hot Chili Peppers, which is a Red Hot Chili Peppers tribute band. So we've had these concerts. This is actually our fourth installment. We've had them multiple 2-day weekends, and each time they just get better and better. So we're really excited about this one. And there will be local food trucks and a cash bar. So we highly recommend y'all come out and enjoy the weather. It's going to be a cooler weekend than this past summer concerts. So yeah, tickets are available online at visitnacogdoches.org/fullmoonconcerts. Or if you don't want to pay credit card fees or tax, come to the visitor center and buy them in person. They're $5 for children, $10 for SFA students, and $15 for adults. And if you wait to buy them at the gate, they'll be $20. So get them in advance. And we always need volunteers. So if you need volunteer hours, or if you just want to be a good steward and come help us out, then email Joanna Temple at joanna@visitnacogdoches.org. And I'll put those links and emails in the comments. Thank y'all.
Well, thank you, Ashley, and thanks for all you guys are doing down there. And I appreciate the booking. You guys have booked me to do the Tom Jones tribute thing in December.
Oh yeah, can't wait for that one.
I'll be doing my Tom Jones impersonation. So hopefully you'll all join us for that on the 25th of December.
Perfect.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm pleased to see our friend Gary Lee Ashcraft on the phone. Gary Lee, what's going on?
I'll be doing my Frank Sinatra impersonations. I'll join you on the stage. That's my guy. Let me see. We don't have much going on. We've got a full blast campaign that is doing very well during this time of inflated stuff. We're seeing a lot of energy and enthusiasm for supporting your United Way from workplace campaign team members. This is where we go to companies and ask the company's teams to support United Way. We're looking good for attendance at 2 events. I'll be suited up for the turkey trot. I think Kenny's going to let me run this year. I've just completed 2 solo turkey trots in preparation for that. That will be on Thanksgiving morning. Wayne, I expect you out there, and you can run with me, and we'll get it done in an hour or 2, or maybe by the next day. But that's how fast I am. So y'all, if you want to kind of burn some calories before you do the great turkey consumption, which I will also do, you can get out there and do a 5K and enjoy the turkey trot and see a real live chicken. So that's one thing. That's on Thanksgiving morning to do the calendar deal. And then on December 3rd is my last event. We do the great big, and I'm not kidding, it's looking really good, Christmas parade, December the 3rd, the Nine Flags Christmas parade. And the theme is, what's the theme, Caroline? Christmas through the decades. I keep forgetting that. I wonder why. So we'll have floats from the 20s, from the 30s, from the 40s, from the 50s, cars of the same nature, a whole bunch of activity. And we expect that to be a great Christmas parade, and hope that you all will bring your families and encourage people to attend. Normally we have a huge crowd that shows up at that thing. Finally, I'm get a little bit serious and go back to the original well-said conversation. Our business, it really hit me at the last part of my career with the United Way about a year ago, if that long. And I received some information from Dr. Sharon Nennis, who was doing some research, and that's kind of her field. And she was giving me some census tracts and things about poverty because we were applying for a Temple grant for the emergency response fund, and we got it. It was $25,000. But one of the things that struck me is the census plot, or census tract, I should say, that this United Way, where I am right now, sits on, right across from Pilgrim's Pride. The area behind us, the community behind us, is the poorest in the state of Texas, number one. So another comment, I was down in San Augustine, which I really like. I call them the Republic of San Augustine. It's just a great place. And a man that was touring me around there that's kind of a real community leader, Charles Sharp, touring me at a rapid rate of speed in his Kawasaki mule thing. It was interesting, Wayne, you would like that, right? But he said, you know, we're the first poorest county in the state of Texas. And then the other data that I have is that our region is the second poorest region in the state of Texas. So we have a real opportunity here to do the things that we're talking about with infrastructure. We have a real opportunity to speak out, which I certainly did not really because of my position, and I think that's an error. We should speak out. We'll speak out, United Way will, always, about these kinds of things, not in a board resolution or anything that the Chamber of Commerce can do, but we'll speak out because as we make a better environment economically for people to go to work, we'll be sure to be giving people that are underserved that want to go to work the opportunity, thus their forth, and going forward improving our labor pool here. And a lot of these people are skilled. A lot of these people can go to our technical training resources, other resources that we have for them, and they're willing to go to work. I've seen it time and time again. Great people, great families getting help by the United Way or one of our agencies and getting on their feet and getting financially stable, getting the education, getting healthy, and going to work. And that's what we do. So we're right up there with you in terms of economic development. We're trying to put people to work. So with that speech, I will conclude with Live United. Can't help it. Axum Jacks.
Thank you, Gary Lee. Appreciate that. Any questions or comments on Gary Lee? Any other comments before I close the meeting here? I just want to take a moment, first of all. This may be one of the best calls in the 50 or 60 that we've done or more. And I say that because there's so much discussion, first about urgency to address the issues that are important to Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County. The second thing equal to that is what Nancy said, Larissa said, and others said about cooperation and regionalism, working together. We can't work in silos and make the progress that we could make if we're all working together and pulling the same direction. That doesn't mean that we're not going to disagree from time to time. I have disagreements on a daily basis with somebody, whether it's a staff person or a member. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, we generally come to a decision or a conclusion that moves the ball forward, and that's what we've got to do here in Nacogdoches. So I'm really encouraged with what I'm hearing here. Thank you, Ted Smith, for setting the table for us today in this discussion. Yeah, we need people like you in our community to, as I said, to coach us up, to make us do the things we need to do. For some of us, professionally, the clock is ticking. We're not going to be here for a long time, so maybe there's urgency in that as well. I do want to let you folks know that ahead of the chamber here, we got an enormous amount of ribbon cuttings, which means one of two things. It's either an existing business that's expanding or innovating, or it's a new business like Novelty Tea last week. And seeing those young people working there, and that young entrepreneur, that guy that owns it, is all of probably 30 years of age. It was so impressive to see that business come to town. It's good for University Drive. It's good for Nacogdoches, and it's certainly good for SFA for those students. Those are exciting things. The one thing I will close on, and Kelly, I'll ask you if you have anything additional, but one thing I'll close on is eggs and issues this month. You folks want to see what a catalyst in a community is, join us for eggs and issues. I promise you, you'll either love Kelly Hall or you're going to walk away saying, and that's not a woman I want anywhere near me because she'll blow you over. She's a fireball. That chamber in Longview is recognized. She's the president and CEO of the chamber in Longview. It's been recognized in the last 2 years as the top chamber in the United States, not just East Texas. And when it comes to economic development and getting things done, Kelly Hall is a fireball. And like I said, I would respectfully encourage all of you to come and hear with Kelly. You know, I used to say I was the best chamber exec I know. In Texas, I don't even pretend. I must be second best because Kelly Hall certainly has done things I couldn't conceive of accomplishing here. So come, ask your tough questions to Kelly, enjoy the program, and it'll be interesting to hear what your reaction is to the conclusion. Well, speaking of Kellys that are fireballs, Kelly Augustine, you got anything to add?
Just really quickly, we also have a Live After 5 hosted by McWilliams and Son Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing at their Nacogdoches location on October 20th. So we hope to see you there too, 5:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. I couldn't find the microphone, so I apologize. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Again, thanks, Ted Smith, and all of you folks, and have a wonderful and prosperous week. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Wayne.